What is up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. This is the Pack a Day podcast. I'm Andy Herman. We've got a ton of Packers stuff to discuss, so let's get right on to it. Before I do that, thank you so much for 3,000 followers. We're not exactly to Tom Grassi and the Grassi posse level quite yet, but we're coming for you, Tom. We've got a little catching up to do. You had a little bit of a head start, but thank you all for the 3,000 followers, all the comments, the likes, just tuning in. I appreciate you all greatly. I actually have an interview with Aj Dillon that I was able to conduct earlier on Monday that I'm very excited to share with you. That was set up through Panini Football Cards of America. I am an avid football card collector myself, so I was really excited to be able to talk with him. Talked a little bit about collecting. We talked about his first season as a Packer, what he wants to accomplish this offseason. A lot of things like that, so make sure to check that out here in just a second. But before we get there, I, of course, have to go over the end-of-season press conferences from Brian Gutekunst as well as Matt LaFleur. There weren't a ton of huge takeaways here. There were a few interesting tidbits. I thought, obviously, they were very adamant in the fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer from here and for the foreseeable future. They shut that down as much as possible. Brian Gutekunst even went on record as to saying there was no truth to the Aaron Rodgers LA Rams, the Rams making a run at Aaron Rodgers. There was no truth to that, according to Brian Gutekunst. Basically, everything that they said reiterated what I kind of talked about yesterday. There is no way Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere. We can put this story to bed. I am, I mentioned on Twitter, I am already a little bit exhausted of the, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation. And Jordan Love hasn't even been a Packer for 10 months yet. And we're already here. So buckle in. It's going to be a bumpy couple years in that regards. But right now, I think as a Packer fan, just enjoy Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be a member of the Packers. He's not going anywhere. Matt LaFleur has said it. Brian Gutekunst has said it. Mark Murphy has said it. Aaron Rodgers has basically said it when he was on the Pat McAfee show. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer in 2021, and at least for now, for the foreseeable future. And that's all we need to know at this moment, because we're not looking to 2022, 2023 this year anyway. Green Bay's going to try to run things back, be aggressive. Speaking of which, I actually had the opportunity to ask Brian Gutekunst, and I asked him about, their kind of philosophy and trying not to borrow too much from future salary caps. Probably could have worded it a little bit better. He kind of disagreed with the premise in saying that they have borrowed some from future caps, which of course they have. But in comparison to teams like the Saints and others, I think the Eagles are another big one. They haven't gone and borrowed a ton from the future. So it wasn't a hit on their philosophy. It's just they've been a little bit more cautious in doing so. My question was, with it being the pandemic and the salary cap going down, are they going to have to be more aggressive? Which his answer was basically yes. But I thought there was a really interesting quote that came out of it. He said, "We have one goal in mind, and if there's an opportunity to take some risks to help us win now, we're certainly in that mode." So, this is not a team that's generally taken a ton of risk. So him saying that they're willing to take some risk and are in a win now mode, I thought that was very telling from Brian Gutekunst. And we'll see if they take that all in philosophy and try to be aggressive and kind of keep the band together and maybe even go above and beyond. As any of you who follow Ken Ingalls, they're in very dire straits is the wrong word, but they're going to have to make some very difficult decisions with the salary cap. So I'm going to be really interested, again, based on that comment specifically, that they're going to be more of in a win now mode, how they manage this offseason and try to keep this team together and, even above and beyond that, improve upon it. So that was another noteworthy takeaway. And then the only other one, in my opinion, Matt LaFleur mentioned that there was or is one internal candidate. You'd have to assume that that's Jerry Gray. I don't think we can fully assume that, because maybe Jerry Gray's just happy being a defensive backs coach at this point in his career. Maybe he doesn't want to be defensive coordinator again. And maybe it is somebody like a Mike Smith or someone like that. Who knows? But the easy assumption is that it's likely Jerry Gray that's going to be the internal candidate. Of course, we've got 3 externals that have already been confirmed. And then the other real noteworthy piece of news coming from Tom Silverstein is that the Packers have reached out to former Seahawks defensive coordinator Chris Richard. So that's going to be another name to keep an eye on as well. Really interested to see how he would have, kind of evolved as a coordinator. Cover 3 is becoming less popular. Some of the run pass option, the read option stuff is making that a little bit irrelevant to be able to run on an every down situation. And basically, the linebackers, are sucking up a little bit more. The safety's playing back in a cover three, and there's kind of that hole in the middle of the field that if they, kind of take the bait on that, read, then, you're, as a quarterback, you can just kind of hit it right in the middle of that defense where there's a soft spot. So cover three's become a little less of a, fashionable defense to play over the course of the last couple seasons, but that doesn't mean that Chris Richard hasn't, evolved as a defensive coordinator and play caller as well. So another name to keep an eye on for the Packers. All right, that's going to do it for me. Without further ado, here is my interview with Aj Dillon. I hope you enjoy it. All right, joining me now is Packers running back Aj Dillon, Green Bay's second-round selection out of Boston College in 2020. He just finished up his first season with the Packers. Aj, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet. So I want to ask you, first of all, obviously you just finished up your 2020 season. What was kind of the biggest thing that you learned in your first year? Obviously a little bit different with the pandemic going on. And were you able to kind of pick up anything from the veterans like Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams?
Yeah, I guess one of the biggest things that I learned was just kind of how to, conduct yourself as a pro. Not that I was ever lazy or anything like that at BC, but, you can kind of get away with, that you got that starting job and, you don't have to watch as much film all the time on every single person. But, being around like guys like Aaron and Jamal, they kind of showed me the right habits, what to do, take care of your body. Even when you feel like the playbook, get like one last couple glances in it before you go to bed at night, visualize yourself, making those plays. And so stuff like that really carried over. And by the end of the season, I felt a lot more confident.
Yeah, you could definitely see that. Obviously, that Titans game, the Rams game, a couple examples of that. And I'm sure having those two guys around can certainly help with that as well. So now, of course, your first season's in the books. It's your first off season, which maybe hopefully you actually get an OTA and a mini camp and things like that. But what are the things that you kind of want to work on as a player this upcoming off season?
Yeah, a couple of the things I want to work on is just, pass catching. Not necessarily, lack of ability or anything like that. I just want to keep getting comfortable. When the opportunities arose this year, I definitely capitalized, but I want to be, trusted completely to do anything. I don't see myself as just a big back. I see myself as RB1 every down back. And so I just want to make sure that everybody, that watches the Green Bay Packers is aware of that.
Yeah, I know the last game didn't go the way that you were hoping, but I thought, in the snaps that you got, you were able to show you could obviously run the football, carrying players for 5 yards past the line of scrimmage when you got hit. You had the great catch out of the backfield, make somebody miss. And then memory serves, I can't remember if it was the Rams game or that game, but I think you had a nice blitz pickup as well. So just kind of showing the overall game. But I have to ask you, so going back to that Rams game for a second, and even before that, Boston College, you were kind of the king of the 9-man box in college. Every team was lining up 9 men in the box. And then you get to this Rams game and, Matt LaFleur is motioning Aaron Jones out to the side, and you were legitimately seeing a 5-man box against you. That had to be just a crazy, night and day difference. And maybe you had to pinch yourself in that situation. But what was your view when you saw a 5-man box against the Rams?
Yeah, that was kind of exactly what I pictured like a couple of days after the draft, like what it was going to be like. You can't stack the box against Aaron Rodgers. So you cannot do it. If you did, you won't win. So, to be able to – one thing I will say, I was going against a lot of 8-man boxes at BC, but it served its purpose. And, now I get a couple less guys in there and I'm licking my chops. You know what I mean? And I feel like if I can get a rhythm – and there's only a couple guys in there, I'm always going to pick up 5. I'm always going to pick up a few once I get going. So that was awesome. And that's one of those, like, I'm like, all right, hand me the ball.
Just give me the ball. No, I hear you. So I want to go back one step more to that Titans game. 21 carries, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. You had another catch for 5 yards in that game. We, of course, know that Jamal and Aaron are both going to be free agents. If you are the guy going into 2021, was that game a little bit of foreshadowing of what you think you can do as the guy in 2021 if needed?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the only game this year that I got a significant amount of carries and carries that weren't, sporadic throughout the game. I feel like any player, any athlete, once you get into a rhythm, you get a couple for football, for an example. And once you get a couple carries, you kind of feel it. But, the kind of before I was getting a carry here and carry like two quarters later or no carries at all. So, yeah, like I said, I view myself as an every down back. So, whether Jamal and Aaron, my guys, are there, whether one of them's there, whether I'm there, wherever I'm playing football, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, and I can get the job done.
Yeah, you could definitely see that this past season. And, you bring up a great point. I remember even in 2018, Mercedes Lewis, who was a veteran's veteran, he kind of had the same thing in Mike McCarthy's system, where he would get a snap in the first quarter, a snap in the third quarter, and you could just see he wasn't in any rhythm. And then, of course, when Matt LaFleur came in, he made him kind of a key piece of that offense. And you could just see him getting everything back going because he was in that rhythm and playing more consistently. I can't imagine what that's like to not get those consistent snaps and just have to go in and, all right, try to get, as many yards as you can on this play. Before we get out of here, I'd be remiss not to ask you what you're kind of working on with Panini and why you decided to partner with Panini.
Yeah. I just feel like, at least for me and most people that I know that are sports fans, you grow up collecting, sports cards and sports memorabilia. And I really feel like Panini does an amazing job, kind of being able to connect the fans with the players. Sometimes I'll be signing some cards. I'm looking at these different ones. I'm like, ooh, if I was a little kid, I'd love that. Or I'll look at the back and I'll see something that like a fun fact or something that I forgot all about myself. And so I think that's pretty cool. And, I really like what they're doing.
Yeah, I do as well. I think the greatest football card of all time made by Panini. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this one. This is the Tim Boyle autographed version of the Panini. I'm pretty sure it's the greatest football card made of all time. So
there you go. I can't argue that. I definitely can't argue that one.
I don't think anyone can, AJ. All right. Did you have a favorite sports card of all time as you were growing up? One that you wanted to collect or anything like that?
Well, it was actually that Tim Boyle card. I have it framed.
I'll see if I can find another on eBay for you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate your time as well. As a reminder, you can find Panini NFL Trading Cards at Walmart, Target, hobby stores nationwide, and PaniniAmerica.net. You can follow AJ on Twitter at Aj Dillon7, and you can follow Panini at Panini America. AJ, thank you for all your time. Best of luck to you this offseason and, of course, in 2021 as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you so much to Aj Dillon and Panini America for allowing me that opportunity to interview AJ and pick his brain a little bit on this past season and what he wants to focus on moving forward. I know what you are thinking. No, the Tim Boyle card is not for sale. There is no amount of stock or options or money or other cards available that you could possibly trade for that card. So no point in asking. That does it for me. Make sure to check out Jake and Ross on today's audio version of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'll be right back here tomorrow. And until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.